A public health issue affecting and surrounding all of our lives on a daily basis in our country today is addiction. But not just any addiction. I am referring to addiction to benzodiazepines in particular. Benzodiazepines are highly addictive central nervous system depressants. Benzodiazepines were created back in the 1950s, and their intention was to help housewives who were suffering from anxiety and insomnia. They were created and meant to be only prescribed for 4 weeks or less, never to exceed longer than the 4 weeks. Since their creation was such a hit, they have begun being requested by more and more people and began being prescribed for more reasons than originally created, to include seizure disorder, muscle relaxation, withdrawal from alcohol, depression, migraines, restless leg syndrome, and for nausea. With this surge of popularity, benzodiazepines have become the second leading overprescribed, abused, and addictive medications in the pharmaceutical and prescribing world. Benzodiazepines have such a high addictive factor that an individual can become addicted to them in a week's time. Once addicted to them, individuals begin to need higher and higher strengths to get the same effect that they would get upon initial use of the medication. Along with needing more of the medication, the individual will also begin to have adverse reactions to the medicine and can begin to experience their anxiety increasing, insomnia return, memory loss, and an increase in depression type symptoms. And they can also have increased thoughts of harming oneself, to name a few. With the increasing attempts to cut back and slow the growth of benzodiazepine addiction and abuse, prescribers are being encouraged to cut back on their prescriptions written for one of the 15 benzos, which is causing those not willing to stop their use of the medication to find other forms of the drug. Prescribers are the reason for this surge in popularity, and even though it is something that affects predominantly adults, more and more benzodiazepines are being prescribed for adolescents and children for anxiety, and prescribers are doing this long term and causing addiction and abuse to begin at a younger and younger age. Behavioral factors can include a co-occurring disorder such as a mental illness like schizophrenia, bipolar, depressive disorder, or anxiety disorder. Other behavioral factors could include alcoholism or other addictions such as illegal drug use or opiate abuse. Some environmental factors can include low socioeconomic status, peer pressure, and unemployment. Some other ones could include experiencing home life with parents or other family members that have had or currently have addiction problems to benzodiazepines or other forms of prescription medications, or non-prescription medications, or glorification from media and celebrity figures who partake in the use of such medications. Some economical issues from the overabuse of benzodiazepines falls into the area of individual loss of employment or loss of time from work because they are unable to work due to their addiction. Also, there are increased medical costs due to their addiction and needing to go through a recovery program or sometimes hospitalization and or therapy. Political issues currently arising from the benzodiazepine epidemic have our president and other congressional representatives making note of the crisis and taking action to put into act laws. In an attempt to slow this progression, guidelines are being put into force to curb the epidemic in waiting. Pharmacies are being mandated to report to the prescription drug monitoring system with a prescription when a prescription is filled, and providers are responsible for reviewing the system before prescribing benzodiazepines. The reason for this is to help decrease the growing number of deaths that are being associated with the overuse and abundance of prescribing of said medications. Ethical issues with benzodiazepine addiction are that when an individual has an addiction to medication, they will do and say just about anything to get the prescription and will often go to multiple doctors to get the medication or steal from someone else to get their medicine. Ethics go to the wayside when there is an addiction. Another ethical issue is prescribing. Providers knowingly are prescribing the medication for longer periods of time, and the risk of addiction that comes with this. Benzodiazepines are extremely addictive, not just physically, but also mentally. With addiction to this medication being so strong, the withdrawal from the medication is very difficult and can take weeks to go through, and can cause death in its consumers, sometimes due to suicide. No matter who you are or how you look at it, benzodiazepines are a negative factor on a person's life and their living situation, and there needs to be a better regulation on how to use it. Since the medication was never meant for long-term use, laws need to be put back into place to mandate and regulate the length and reasons for its use, or else it needs to be taken off the market. Benzodiazepine abuse can be considered an epidemic with the potential to become a pandemic in our future if prescribers do not become more proactive and find alternatives for treating the people who are seeking such medications. Thank you.